Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. My guest, Ali Louis Bourzgui, is making his Broadway debut as Tommy Walker in Des McAnuff and Pete Townshend's new production of The Who's Tommy. And we caught up with him here at Barcade. Well, first of all, I am thrilled to be sitting with you.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be sitting with you.
And here we are at Barcade.
Barcade, yeah.
So you played some of these machines, right?
Yeah, well, I've been to a few barcades on different tours, and then growing up, my grandpa used to bring me to the mall, and he'd go and do his shopping. He would put me and my brother in the arcade, and we would just play this racing game over here all the time, and Pac-Man, and they didn't have pinball at that arcade, so maybe that's why I'm not great at it, but.
So you're good at Pac-Man and these
very
car
good
games,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Daytona, USA.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you are about to make your Broadway debut as Tommy Walker in Tommy. How excited are you?
It's insane. We're currently in that stage where we're at the end of previews, and it's just been we didn't know how people were going to react in Chicago, and then we sold that out, and people were every single audience was amazing energy, and then we didn't know how it was going to do in New York, and so far we're at the end of previews, and every single night there's this sort of this convocation to the audience, and we sing this song straight to them, and we're just getting so much energy back, and everyone's loving it and standing up, and it's just it's really really exciting energy.
Because the run you had in Chicago was record-breaking, totally sold out. I mean, people flew in from all around the world to see this show, which they're doing now in New York.
Yeah.
So it's got to be so cool.
Yeah.
What do you remember about your first performance on stage here in New York as Tommy?
I was so nervous, but it was a blessing to have been able to do the show in Chicago, because I knew I had the show under my belt, so I didn't have to focus on the show too much. But just the idea of because this wasn't just my Broadway debut, it was also my New York debut. I've never even performed in New York City, so to sort of feel a small need to prove myself in kind of a way, and but I just remember kind of feeling that nervousness. But when we went out, it was the realization that 16 of us were making our Broadway debuts together that night, and focusing on sort of the ensemble effect of that, and lifting each other up, and that took the pressure away and just made it really, really exciting and special. It felt like everything I wanted my Broadway debut to be.
What's it like living in this beautiful world of The Who's Tommy?
It's every day. You feel the legacy of it. The history. I have a big photo of The Who performing in my dressing room right now, and I've been just going back and rewatching old archived clips, and you live that. You keep that inside of you when you're performing this, and every single night when we sing, listening to you, it's this has been sung for audiences around the world for years and years and years, and has touched so many people. And it's the whole thing just feels like an honor to be part of, as someone who loves music so much and the history of music, and it just feels like such an honor to be part of this whole legacy of it. Yeah.
Is it a big pinch me moment? I'm The Who's Tommy, and you're doing it now on Broadway and making your debut?
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine a better debut, because I always grew up wanting to do rock musicals. Spring Awakening, I did that when I was in high school, and it changed my entire life. And it's funny because Ira Pittleman was the lead producer on that as well, and so we were talking about that, and I was that photo of Moritz Stiefel, with the microphone, that was my lock screen. That was everything to me. That was iconic. And then we did a photo shoot together, sort of in the same vein, and those are the pinch me moments where I'm wow, I'm doing a rock musical on Broadway, and The Who are a part of it, and I get to meet them. It's wild.
Okay, so you've already met.
Well, I met Pete.
Pete. All right. So what was that like?
It was insane. It's when you get to meet the person who created the piece you're working on, you just want them to. I just wanted him to be proud of what we created, and I wanted to really honor this thing that he made when he was my age, and he's just spent so much of his life with this piece, and to come into it sort of as I recognize what it is, but to come into it sort of feeling like a bit of a newbie. I really wanted to come into it, with that sort of that dramaturgy I was talking about, of being I know every single in and out of this, and like where you came from with this. I didn't think it was. I thought it was pretty irresponsible to come into the piece just like blank about it.
Yeah.
So, I really like not only watched videos of them performing, but I even went back into interviews that Pete did of talking about like the origins of the piece and how he was inspired to write it, and talking about Meher Baba and all these like spiritual leaders that he sort of was following and intertwined into the story. And yeah, I don't know. I wanted to make him proud with both the performance and the dramaturgy. Yeah. So
how cool is it singing this score?
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Especially, I love singing I'm Free every night because it's like, I can't really sing every single song at full like rock star rasp and volume just because 8 shows a week, it just gets a little tiring. So there's certain songs where I really choose to like perform as if I were Roger Daltrey. And so I'm Free, if there's any like super Who fans out there, I went back to 3 different Roger Daltrey performances of it. I went to the movie, the Live at Leeds, and I don't remember the last one, but I chose 3 different iconic riffs he did in those different performances, and I threw those in there so that like I'm doing a little homage to Roger, but also keeping it my own. And it's just fun to sing a score like this,
Yeah. This is such a demanding role. So I was wondering, how do you stay healthy physically and mentally to do this?
I do a lot of yoga, which was always something, if you go to any kind of theater program, you get a little bit of yoga in your practice, but it's never something that I've done religiously. But starting in Chicago, there's so much lifting in this show. Like, not me, people are lifting me, and I'm like contorting my body and doing all these like, the show is very sharp in the choreography, so doing like flowing movements like that really helps my body just kind of work out the kinks and stay healthy. And I don't do too much with my day.
Yeah.
I read a lot. I chill out. Once it gets warm out, Central Park will be my haven. In Chicago, I would just walk up and down. And again, I love music, so one of my favorite hobbies is just like curating music and finding like eclectic playlists and I don't know, just finding new artists and stuff. So I'll spend 4 hours walking up and down a park, just listening to music, which informs my practice and also keeps me sane, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, how do you prep yourself for a performance? Like, what do you do to get into the Tommy mindset before you go on? Like, do you arrive at the theater early? Are you a later arrival? Like, how early do you like to get to the theater?
I arrive relatively early. I have a great set of warm-ups given to me by my voice teacher that involve a lot of tongue pulling. When you're doing like rock singing, your jaw and your tongue get really tight, which can cause problems. So I close my door because I look wild, and I grab a paper towel and I'm like pulling on my tongue. And, I've said like vocal warm-ups are already weird enough, and these are even weirder. Like, vocal warm-ups are weird to non-theater people, and then the vocal warm-ups I'm doing are weird to theater people.
Yeah. So you close the door.
I close the door. I do a lot of stretching, and I have a record player in my dressing room, and I brought a bunch of my records from home. And I'll usually throw one of those on it. It's really like getting into the idea of music, just for the fact that this show is based in classic rock, but also the character Tommy lives in a musical consciousness. He sort of experiences the world through this like inner orchestration. So like to get music in my bones from the start is a big part of my prep.
Okay, Des McAnuff is one of the most in-demand directors, always has been. What makes him such a wonderful director, and what did you enjoy the most about working with him?
It's because he's so detailed.
Yeah.
I mean, he is so detailed, and he also doesn't settle for anything but like perfection and your best work. Which, in the beginning, starting in Chicago, I already had so much imposter syndrome. I'm a relatively unknown actor, coming into this huge legacy role, and he kind of just kept being like, you got to be more of a rock star. You got to be more of a rock star. More of this, more of this, more of this, and it was hard. But like, he pushed me to this point that I didn't even know I could get to. Like he saw more in me than I saw in myself, and he does that for everyone.
Yeah.
So we sort of work to get to this place that he sees us at, and then at the end, you turn around, and you're like, oh my God, I've grown so much, and like he's gifted me he's basically gifted me like, a new voice and a new acting style and a new confidence, because he saw me at such a high level. I rose to that, and I can't thank him enough for it. And also just the fact that every single piece of this show is so detailed. Like the best note he ever gave us is he told us not to smile in the show. There's very, very, very specific little moments of the show where we're allowed to smile, but otherwise, he mentioned that when you're skydiving, they tell you to smile because they're going to take photos, and this is like the only way that you're going to look sane, because otherwise there's 100 different emotions that can go across your face when you're doing something like that. So he said if you don't smile throughout the show, there's like 100 different ways that your face can be. Smiling is, we're used to seeing that, but otherwise there's all these different things that you can unlock that are really interesting and like obscure for the audience to see. So that's just been a great acting challenge in itself. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
And you love working with this company.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ensemble, I mentioned them in my bio. They quite literally lift me up every night, emotionally and keeping me sane, but also like they're literally lifting me and holding me up in the show. And it's just such a great group of people. It's a hard show to do, and it requires 110% of your energy, and we're all just there for each other, which we wouldn't be able to do the show without that.
I love that. I want to go back to growing up. Where did your love for theater begin?
Yeah, well, I grew up in the Berkshires in Western Mass, which is like the mecca of all art. There's Jacob's Pillow for dance, and you have Tanglewood for music, and we have Barrington Stage and Shakespeare and Company and Williamstown Theater Festival and Berkshire Theater Group. There's just so much art, and that's where my mom originally grew up. My grandma was a big community theater actor. Yeah. And just a lot of people on my mom's side did, like, my aunt's a tap dancer, another one of my aunt's a painter, and in that like world, I was kind of inspired by them, and then got to start seeing a couple shows. And then when I was in middle school, my mom and I heard of this like Wizard of Oz audition, so I went and did that. And I stopped at the door and was just like, you know what? I changed my mind. She goes, no, we're here. You're gonna follow through with this. And thank God she did that, because from there on, I literally caught I played the Lollipop Guild Munchkin, and when I was given the solo and had this giant lollipop, I just was like, oh yeah, this is it. And I caught the bug really early, and then was just able to go see other shows. Barrington had this amazing thing for young actors and just young people in the community in general, where if you were under 30, you got tickets for like $20-$25. So
nice.
Affordable theater, which was huge, and I got to see all these plays and all these like incredible Broadway actors and be inspired, which, a few of them have already come to see the show, and that has been full circle moments. Like I saw Jared Spector in a new show there, and I saw Joe Iconis. Joe Iconis used to do all his like news shows at Barrington, and now they're coming to see the show, and I'm like, whoa, you like literally inspired me to do this. So yeah.
I love it. All started with the Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
All started with the lollipop.
Doesn't it always?
Yeah, totally.
It's a lot of people's stories.
So was there a defining moment when you're like, now I want to be an actor and try to make a living at this?
Yeah, that was part of the way through high school, because I don't know, I thought about doing environmental engineering, and I kind of heard.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah. And my brother's doing that now, so that's someone's doing it.
At least it's in the family.
Yeah, and he's really good at it. And I'm so glad of my mom for pushing me and supporting me through this, because I'd be a really bad environmental engineer, and you'd have like some poorly built wind turbine out in like Illinois.
Yeah, but you could play him well. You could play the role well, right?
It's true. But yeah, I think it was one of the Barrington stage shows I left, and I've been trying to think of what show it was, and I think it was Kimberly Akimbo, when it was just a play. Yeah. And I left being like, it was just a sudden realization that I'm like, oh, these people are doing this as a job. Like, this isn't just, I saw it as just a show, but then I'm like, oh, that's an actor doing this like as a career, and he's going from like show to show to show. And so I kind of brought that up to my mom, and she was supportive, and then I brought it up to my dad, and being from Morocco and being from a different culture, there's sort of this thing as like an immigrant where he came here and he worked so hard, and he worked tons of tireless jobs and kind of climbed the ladder in order to support his family, and he sacrificed a lot to give us the ability to have an education and everything. So for him to go into arts didn't really make sense, and he was really nervous and scared about it. So we kind of clashed heads a lot through high school, of me trying to be like, this is what I want to do. This is like everything that I am, and him not understanding that. And eventually I just, had to just keep pushing forward. And my mom really helped support me through it. And once I was able to show him what this was and prove to him what it was, and he sort of was able to wrap his brain around it. And now he's fully supportive, and he has the Who's Tommy logo on his phone, and so now I got my whole family on board. But
see, now it's like my son's gonna make his Broadway debut in the Who's Tommy.
Yeah.
So it all worked out.
But I like talking about it because it's just like, you're not always going to get support from a lot of your family, and
or in the business, you're not
or
either.
in the business, completely. But you just have to push through it for yourself, and hopefully people will start to see it the more that you find success and believe in yourself.
Yeah. Well, you've already taken on so many other fun roles, like you've done the national tours of, I want to mention a few of them, and just tell me what comes to mind, a fun story or memory. Paul and Company, first national tour.
Well, I jumped into Paul right after doing Tommy, which was a crazy shift, because again, no smiling in Tommy, but in Company, it's nonstop. I was just like, the entire time, to the point where I'd come off stage after the first 2 weeks, I'm like, guys, do your faces hurt? Because my face hurt so much. I was just like nonstop smiling, and it was such a blast, because I just got to do the complete opposite side of the spectrum. And I don't know, I've seen Company a few times, and I wouldn't say Paul is like usually a goofy character, but I think because I needed that, and the specific production that Marianne has put on, I made Paul just an absolute goofball. I mean, the entire time I was just doing the most ridiculous things, and we had so much fun with that group. And they're still out there doing the show, and I hope everyone can catch it, because it's a beautiful, beautiful show, just full of the most unique people. Each person in that show is so specific and wonderful.
And then there's the band's visit, which must have been a personal show for you to do, right?
Oh my God! So I saw.
What'd you play?
I played. Well, I started the first half of the tour as a swing, and I covered 7 roles, which I'm honestly so glad I got to do that. It just gave me an appreciation for swings, and also an appreciation. It was just fun to like have that kind of Russian roulette of like, I could go for 7 different people. So like, who am I ready for today? And I got a bunch of different wigs and stuff. It was fun. But I started first half of it as a swing, and then the guy who played Khaled left to go to the Kite Runner, and so I went to stage management. I was like, listen, I know the part. I'm ready for this, and they gave it to me, and so I stepped in to play Khaled for the whole second half of the tour.
Nice.
Which was amazing. But I saw that show in college, and it was the first time I'd ever seen my culture represented on stage, and it meant everything to me. And it also, even beyond that, it's just such a great show, and I love it so much. It was my favorite musical. And then I graduated college, got that audition immediately, and jumped right onto the tour after graduating. So that was just like such a perfect thing. And I say this is a really interesting thing, because I kind of mentioned how, the universe sometimes gives you bad luck or like some bad things, and you can view it as that. And listen, the pandemic was absolutely terrible, and I do not discount that it, brought so much terrible, terrible things. But for certain instances, you have to look at the positives, and because that happened, it put a bunch of these shows on hold, and people left the tour, and it opened up the slot. And so like right as we came back and I graduated through COVID and through the pandemic, when I got out of school, the tour restarted, and it would have finished at that point. But it had been put on hold, and then I had the perfect timing to jump into that show, and it kind of made my career and set me off on a great foot.
See, I always turn negatives into positives. There's always a positive in something. Talking about how proud you were of the band's visit, you are an ISF scholar, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me how proud you are. What is that, how proud you are of that?
Yeah, so that was in high school, that was in college. I found this program. It's the Islamic Scholarship Foundation, and basically they just help fund the education of any Muslims that are in media, public opinion, so like journalists or actors or filmmakers, and their whole thing is just like putting money forward to help these future Arab Americans sort of be in these public eye roles,
Yeah.
and help, like our whole mission statement, with them, and even just my own mission statement is being a Muslim Arab American in art and theater, and offering that representation, but also just like putting a good public view, because just so often in media and the news, it's just all negative stereotypes. And I grew up in a post 9/11 world, so growing up entirely, my entire childhood was just ignorance, really. There was just a lot of misinformation and ignorance of the kids around me, but just from all they would see on like stereotypes on TV and stuff. So, I just got a lot of like microaggressions and bullying growing up, and if I can help in any way to put Arabs in a good light, to fight dehumanization in any kind of way, I just hope to help the next generation of kids.
I think it's wonderful that you do that, because representation for everyone is very, very important, especially now. So I thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Now, I looked at your resume. You have so many great things on your resume. You did impersonations?
Oh, yeah.
But did you grow up learning voices of people, or like?
I
don't mean to put you on the spot, but I was fascinated by that.
I love animated things. Like,
okay.
I love animated movies and TV shows. So I think I grew up always having an ear for like voices. And then in high school, to be honest, in high school, I didn't have that many friends. Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is true. I talked to a lot of theater people, and they're like,
none of us did.
Yeah.
Until we found our tribe.
Right, exactly. College was really when I started to sort of find my real group of people. But I would spend a lot of time in high school watching like impression videos, and I would just try to like recreate how these other people were like impersonating other people. And it just became like a hobby of mine. And
do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite? Is there something?
I think the one that I do frequently is Jeff Goldblum.
Can you do him?
Sure. I might need your glasses.
Yeah, take them. I'm giving you my glasses. Go ahead, take them.
All right. Hello. We're going to play the pinball machine. Is it over here? A pinball, or maybe, I don't know, racing, Daytona, USA. Yes. All right. Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to hire you now. They should just hire you for any of this stuff. That's great.
Thank you.
No wonder why you have friends in high school. Just do impersonations of your friends. Jeff,
no.
I have Jeff at my house.
Yeah, exactly. You can never do impersonations of your own friends, because then they're just like, oh God.
But now your friends they're going to come and see you on Broadway now.
Yeah.
After all those impersonations, now I'm on Broadway. Finally, if you could sum up the best part of the experience of working on Tommy, I know it's all fresh and new, and you're about to make your Broadway debut, and the opening's right around the corner. What's the best part for you? The best part of the experience?
Yeah, I think the best part is this like I get a runner's high from it.
Yeah.
And the entire company does. So I think I'd say the best part is the collective energy that we all feel around the the halfway mark of Act 2, where it's just nonstop, and you feel the audience get on your side, and then the entire audience, the entire ensemble, and like us, the principal cast, we are just in this meditative state of like rock and roll, and it's electric.
What's the last thing you do before you hit the stage?
The last thing I do before I hit the stage, I do a couple squats.
Just
I
to
get
make
the
sure,
legs ready. I'm like, we gotta go. Yeah.
make sure the legs work.
Yeah.
I've had the time of my life sitting with you. Broadway debuts are really special. I'll be there on opening night when you make it.
Thanks.
Make
Glad
it from
to
the
have
heart. I've told you this
I will.
before, because they'll probably bring creatives on, everything else, but I want you to have that moment for yourself, because it's going to live in your head forever.
Yeah.
Like when you take that bow that night.
I can't wait.
Welcome to Broadway, my friend.
Thanks, Richard.